Welcome back to 316 Exposure. Always controversial, sometimes uncomfortable, but always honest. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe. We are a new channel and need your support. If you want instant notifications, ring the bell in the top right-hand corner of your screen.
Dear Progressives, for now you have the upper hand in the culture war. I know it looks good from your perspective. You successfully infiltrated and radicalized the educational system. Social studies has replaced history. Mathematics has become subjective. Feelings have been exchanged for facts. You've turned patriotism into a mask for racism. And you convinced generations of students, teachers, administrators, parents, and even school boards that there is something inherently and legally wrong with any reference to the most read book in the world, the Bible, and the God it reveals. That's right, you did it. It's too bad you can't tout the results, though, or am I being a little conspiratorial when I think these might be the results you were after? And congratulations, you own the universities too. Conservative faculty have been disappearing and conservative speakers are routinely barred from speaking. On abortion, you look like you were down for the count, with the election of the most pro-life president in history and the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh, despite the most hate-filled and disingenuous confirmation hearings in the history of the Supreme Court. It appeared as if Roe v. Wade was finally headed towards a reversal. The American Holocaust against the unborn looked like its days were numbered. While not only did you brush off what seemed to be an imminent reprieve for the unborn, you were able to stake your claim to the unthinkable, infanticide. You've legitimized discussing killing the unborn as they are being born. Virginia's progressive governor even suggested that a baby who survived an abortion should be able to be terminated anyway. Wow. Not only have you successfully distracted much of America from the scourge of abortion, you've actually gotten progressive presidential candidates on board with infanticide. Disgusting but impressive. Perhaps the centerpiece or crown jewel of your recent accomplishments is how you have successfully convinced most Americans that the view of marriage predominant since the dawn of civilization was somehow skewed or inadequate. For millennia, marriage was understood to be a covenant between a man and a woman. It was the bedrock of the family, which itself became the bedrock of every successful society. You managed to convince the masses that God's purpose for marriage, be fruitful and multiply, Genesis 1:28, was nonsense. Instead, you claimed that marriage was nothing more than a venue for sexual expression. I stand in awe that you were able to convince so many people, even Supreme Court justices, that sterility is on par with fertility. By undercutting marriage, you knew you would be diminishing the importance of gender, and now here we are. The transgender insanity is overwhelming in our nation. But you knew that it was inevitable with the destruction of the millennia-old concept of male and female marriage, didn't you? I could go on with how you progressives seem to have everything going your way, from open borders to global warming, to the politics of personal destruction, to the full-fledged support of Hollywood, to having the mainstream media in your pocket, to having sold the idea that the First Amendment is the sole property of progressives who can shut down speech when they deem it offensive or hateful. You've even got a fairly large segment of organized religion on board your crazy train. But I do believe you have seriously miscalculated, especially with the regard to the support you garner from organized religion. The poor religious saps who call themselves progressives are wearing blinders. Look at 2 Corinthians 4:3-4. Don't mistake them for the rest of us, and don't think for a second that you ever succeed in destroying Christianity. I mean, that is, after all, what this is all about, isn't it? Let me give you 3 reasons why that even though everything seems to be going your way, your movement is ultimately doomed to everlasting failure. 1, you don't have history on your side. Rewriting history, as you are so prone to do, cannot actually change it. For more than 2,000 years, misguided and hate-filled individuals, nations, political systems, entire empires, and the Prince of Darkness himself have tried to vainly eradicate Christianity and all failed miserably. Empires such as Nero, Domitian, Titus, Diocletian all tried unsuccessfully to end Christianity. Islam has been trying for 1400 years and hasn't succeeded. Communists have persecuted and martyred untold millions of Christians in places like Russia, China, and North Korea, and they're still at it. It's a fruitless task you're on, progressives. The centuries are full of people who were sure they could ultimately and finally get rid of Christianity. If you're brave enough, type the following in the Google search engine. Where is Christianity growing the fastest? And oops, see what I mean? Here's one more, and I know that's gotta hurt. 2. God is both changeless and true. This is of little interest to those progressives who are atheists or who have made themselves into gods. You can skip down to number 3. This is for those who identify as progressive Christians. Your first mistake was choosing to believe in evolution despite the lack of evidence for it and the plethora of evidence that exists for creation. Then you exchanged the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John for the Gospel of Roddenberry and Lucas. You actually believe God himself evolves. You think he has evolved on sexuality, lawlessness, salvation, and his only begotten Son. Truth doesn't evolve. Jesus said his words will never pass away. Matthew 24:35. What was true in the Garden of Eden is still true today. Genesis 1:27, 2:24. 3. Authentic Christians will never bow, acquiesce, or submit to progressivism. Faithful believers will never bow to our knees at your politically correct altar, ever. Those who are indwelled with the Spirit of God will never accept homosexuality as God's created design, despite what the Pete Buttigiegs of the world claim. We will never accept marriage as anything other than a covenantal relationship between one man and one woman. We will never keep our religious beliefs confined to the four walls of our local churches. We will never stop saying that there is no other name, Jesus, under heaven, given among men by which we must be saved. Acts 4:12. We will love our enemies, but we will never yield our beliefs or our faith to them. If you think you can simply wait for my generation to die and then the culture war is over, think again. We are educating our children and grandchildren. We are not relying on your corrupt, Common Core-driven curriculum to raise God-fearing, patriotic Americans. And we are not depending on denominational youth directors to tell our kids what is Christian and what isn't. We're doing it ourselves. We're teaching the next generation to stand and be dressed in the full armor of God. Ephesians 6:10-20. You have seriously miscalculated if you think that because many once noble and strong denominations have made a hard left turn that the American church is yours. Ask one of your liberal seminary professors about the remnant. If you think screaming that we are hate-filled bigots is going to get the job done for you, boy, you're wrong. Not to shock you or anything, but there is a great deal of cooperation and networking going on under the national radar between various Christian ministries that have no affiliation with any particular denomination or church. We are not sitting around wringing our hands and just hoping that somebody will do something, not by a long shot. Progressives, I'll admit, you've got the upper hand for now, but you have neither truth nor righteousness on your side, and truth and righteousness know nothing of evolution or defeat. Finally, I'll leave you with this. Brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening, especially you progressives. I appreciate you at least taking the time to hear me out. And until next time, again, God bless you and your families.